Okay, so I guess we can start off with sort of introduce yourself and like where you went to school, I guess, where you've taught in the past if this isn't your first school, and just a little bit of background.
Okay. So I graduated high school in Ohio, and then I went to college. I did my undergraduate at Morehead State University in Kentucky. I got a BS in physical science with an emphasis in chemistry for teaching science secondary ed. And then I have a master's degree in secondary education from Indiana University Southeast. And then I also have a plus 18 in chemistry, so master's chemistry courses from all over. They're kind of intermixed from like Ball State, Butler University, and then Montana State University. And that allows me to teach the Chemistry 2 dual credit class.
Okay.
I've been teaching here for 7 years, and then I taught in Louisville, Kentucky for 6 years.
Okay.
So I'm almost at, 6.5, so I'm almost at 14 years. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so my first question, because this is supposed to be geared towards the flipped classroom, is just how you implemented the flipped classroom in your classes.
So right now I do fully flipped classroom in Chemistry 2, which is the dual credits. So these are upper level chemistry students, upper level students in general. And so I've implemented that, and this is my second year in full implementation.
Okay.
I have not implemented them in the Chemistry 1 or the Physics yet.
Okay.
It takes a lot of work. So I just now feel comfortable with Chem 2, so I'm probably going to then start with maybe physics or chemistry in the next year.
Okay. So yeah, I was talking to your students before the class was out, and I said, how do you like the flipped classroom? And they were like, the what? So I just I asked them, do you watch videos for homework and you do your work sort of in class? And they're like, oh yeah. So sort of, how did you introduce the change in instruction style without mentioning that it was a flipped classroom and sort of explaining it that way?
Yeah, I really didn't mention, I probably mentioned flipped, but maybe once. We don't, technically call it that as far as our daily instruction. The way we introduced it at the beginning of the year was that we were going to utilize our class time differently. That instead of me lecturing during class, that we would have time to work on homework, we would have time to work on lab. This lab could have been done in probably an hour and a half, but when we only have 45 minutes, we now have to break it up into 2.5 days with setup and tear down. And so they just knew from the beginning what the expectations were as far as they were going to be given a set of learning targets, they were going to be given a set of PowerPoint notes, they were going to be given some videos to watch, and that they would do movie tickets, and then we would come into class and we would be able to do other things. So I really introduced it as just a different use of class time.
Okay. Were they enthusiastic about it?
They were not.
They weren't?
They were not. Not at first, no.
Were they apprehensive because
they
it
were.
was different?
Yes. That's what makes flipping a classroom so difficult, because it is so different. And I only know one other teacher, maybe two, who actually does flipped classrooms in the school.
Okay.
It is such a new concept. There does take a lot of back prep time from the teacher.
Yes.
And so if you're willing to put in that time, it's going to pay off. But it does take some time to do that, which is why I feel like in my second year of Chem 2 Flip that I'm actually getting the hang of it, utilizing the class time, finding what schedule works.
So what do you spend your time on outside of class?
For me personally?
Yeah, you said it takes a lot of time.
It did. So last year when I was doing it, basically I was a unit ahead. I stayed a unit ahead. I made sure I did my podcast a unit ahead. I made sure I found the videos a unit ahead. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of work. So now I don't actually have that back time anymore.
Right.
So
just the initial implementation.
Yep. You'll change. You might find a new video to show, or you might, but those things don't change really. The things that can change are the things that are in your classroom, what you're doing. You're able to do more lab, or you're able to do, like for example, next week we're going to spend 2 days in the Chemistry 2 doing a gas laws, what we call PLTL, and it's where they get in groups and they just work gas law problems. And I can then monitor and go around. So instead of them doing that at home, they're doing it here.
Right. So throughout the course of the semester or the year, have they become more enthusiastic about it?
They have become accustomed to the expectation. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They're very good at, if this is the expectation and you follow through, they are good at, okay, well, that's what I'm supposed to do. And I've mentioned to him, this is a lot of times in college, a lot of professors and things like that are going to this more kind of flipped version where you watch the lectures at home. It's definitely getting into more mainstream. Mm-hmm. So it's something that's going to prepare them for the future.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you have any specific digital tools that you use for your instruction, for your assessment, or for anything else that helps out in your class?
I use Screenomatic to make podcasts.
Okay.
All that is, it's free, which is really great because there's some really super fantastic programs that are really expensive. Screenomatic's easy, fast. I can put a PowerPoint up, and then I have a wireless chalkboard that connects through a USB, mm-hmm. and I can write on it, and then it writes onto my laptop screen. And so as I'm recording, they're hearing me, and then they're seeing what I write. Right. So it's just like what I'd be doing on the board. Mm-hmm. We use My Big Campus as our tool for providing kind of the space that everything's housed on. Mm-hmm. It's like a Facebook for schools, and it's something that our school subscribes to. Yeah. I use Socrative, sometimes Socrative.com or Socrative.com for maybe some small little formative assessments. But the structure for Chem 2, the homework and the tests in the labs are brought from VU, so they're pretty rigid in the sense of what I will provide them. Okay. So it's the little things that I integrate from there that are different.
Okay. So you mentioned before that you attempted to implement the flipped into your physics class.
Into my chemistry 1.
Into your chemistry 1. Mm-hmm. Okay, not into your physics.
Not yet. My chemistry 1 is considered physics is, we've got ICP, then physics, and then chemistry. Okay. And so my physics students, those students are we're struggling with getting homework turned in, getting, even labs turned in. So I wanted to see if I could implement it from Chemistry 2 to Chemistry 1. And I started, and then this year, I'm going to be honest, this year I had 4 lab preps. So I have 4 different lab classes that I'm teaching, and I just completely ran out of time.
Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't that something with the specific class didn't work. It's just that you ran out of time
to put in the effort I needed to. And It was a huge struggle for them because it was so different. And so I wasn't willing or able yet to put in that effort to continue pushing that forward.
But you still plan to do that after you become comfortable with
this?
Yep. You're going to move it
Yep, you bet. And this summer I'll start because I'm hopefully going to lessen my prep load.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So if you could start again, would you do anything differently this time, or would you keep some things the same that worked really well from the beginning?
Yeah, I would keep it the same. It really was just kind of front-loading staying a unit ahead. Mm-hmm. The first unit is going to be the one that's the toughest to get the kids to buy into. Mm-hmm. So you really just have to push forward with that. And you'll have to take, it could take up to 2 weeks to show them the process of what you do. What do you do when you get home? Here's where you go. What notes are you going to take? Here's how you're going to take them.
Procedures for everything.
Yes, maybe you walk through a video and you take notes and you show them what you're taking, etc. So there's a lot of, it was easier for the Chem 2 students because they're the upper level students to grab pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. So it takes a little bit more time as you go through that student level as far as what the students are willing to do, as far as that goes. What school do you teach at? What's the region? What's the personalities, things like that.
Okay. So can you expand a little bit on the personalities? What sort of personalities are susceptible? Is that?
Sure. So generally my physics students, I would say probably 50% are college bound. Okay. Probably 50% are going to be 2-year vocational college bound. Well, maybe not, probably 40%. Then you got the 10% who aren't going to go to school. We're going to push that college bound for everybody. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the students don't have internet access. A lot of the students in my physics classes don't have computers. A lot of the students have to work after school, and they work because their parents need help paying for the bills, or they live with a single mom. Circumstance, right? So as far as getting them to understand the importance of doing the education, sometimes is difficult when they foresee the daily. I need to go to work at 4 and I don't get off from work till 11. Yeah. So that kind of thing. So what you can do is and I haven't found a way to do it yet because we teach so much content, is maybe you set aside a day. Okay, so Mondays are always going to be the days that you do the podcasts. And so I'm going to, look into setting aside a schedule like that. So that way those students who aren't able to can then do that in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So you do like a one day, and then the rest of the 4 is meant for, that. So